This is lesson 11.3, which is teaching you how to multiply mixed numbers. You will have two objectives. Your first objective is to first remember to change mixed numbers to an improper fraction in order to multiply. Your second objective is for you to double check and make sure if you know how to cross-cancel everything correctly. Knowing how to cross-cancel is really important when multiplying with mixed numbers because all the numbers that we work with will be rather large. One step that you'll want to learn how to do before learning how to multiply mixed numbers is learning how to estimate the product. So when we are estimating, I'm going to take a look at my number that is a mixed number, meaning it has a whole number and a fraction number out to the side. And I'm going to double check. First thing, I'm looking at 5 4/5. On a number line, I'm going to ask myself, is 5 4/5 closer to the whole number 5, or is it closer to the whole number of 6? Well, in the past, we've talked about that if we were to have a number line, and if we were to, in fact, let me draw out a number line right now, and if we were to have 5 on this side as my whole number, and 6 next to it as a whole number, and I'm going to divide it into 5 sections. 4/5 would be found right here. So 5 4/5 would actually be closest to 6. When estimating the product, you'll want to take a look at the fraction next to that whole number and double check to see, is it closer to 5 or is it closer to a whole number a step above it. In this case, I'm going to be rounding 5 4/5 for it to become a 6. So if I were to estimate this product, I would go ahead and say 6 times 7 equals 42. So my answer should be somewhere close to the whole number of 42. This time I'm going to estimate the product of the problem that I've written down below. So I'm going to round both of these numbers to the nearest whole number. If I were rounding 2 1/5, I would check to see, is 1/5 closer to the whole number of 2, or is it closer to the whole number of 3? Now, if I were to chart this on a number line once again, I would be able to see that 2 1/5 is closer to the whole number of 2, so I would round this number to 2. Now, because I'm looking at a fraction 7/8, I would do the same thing, only this time I'm trying to decide if rounding, would it be a poor number that rounds closer to 0 on a number line? Or is 7 close enough to the denominator 8 that we would round it up to the nearest whole number, which would be 1? In that case, we'd be rounding up to the nearest whole number, which would be 1. So I'm going to write that number directly above. 2 times 1 equals 2. So if I multiply this problem out across, my answer should be somewhere close to the whole number of 2. However, this lesson is teaching you how to find the actual answer to a product. And we're using whole numbers. Now you can't multiply when you have a whole number out to the side. You can only multiply when everything is in a fraction form. And in this case, we're going to be changing this mixed number to an improper fraction. Now hopefully in the past you remember that the steps to doing that would be, you take your denominator, multiply it by the whole number out to the side, and then you add the leftover remaining numerator. So in this case, I'm going to take 7, multiply it by 3 to have it equal 21, and then add 2 to that. So 21 plus 2 is 23. So changing that to an improper fraction would make that fraction become 23/7. Now, already out to the side, I don't have a whole number, so I can just bring that number down below. Now I can go ahead and multiply. Now in this case, I will want to check to see if I can cross-cancel because we are working with some really large numbers. Of course, you can do 23 times 14, put your answer out to the side, multiply 7 times 15, put your answer out to the side, and then start simplifying like crazy, but that's a lot of work. So let's make it easy on ourselves. I'm going to double check to see if I can cross cancel between the 7 and 14, and I can. 7 goes into 7 and it also goes into 14, so I'm going to cross out my 7, think to myself 7 divided by 7 is 1, cancel the 14, and make it a 2. Now I'm going to check to see if I can cross cancel between 23 and 15. Now as I'm looking, I can't think of a number that can go into 23 that can also go into 15, so I'm going to leave that alone. My next step would be to multiply straight across the top and then straight across the bottom. 23 times 2 is 46, and you can also figure out that problem by just taking 23 and multiplying it by 2 and doing it out on paper by hand. But that was one that was actually not too hard to do mentally. And then across my denominators, 1 times 15 is 15. So my answer is 46 over 15. Now I do want you to simplify. You don't want to leave your answer in an improper fraction. So it's looking like it's going to be a little bit of a division problem here. I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 15 go into 46? Well, if we were to skip count with 15, it would be 15, 30, 45. I know 15 times 3 equals 45. So 15 goes into 46 3 times, because it equals 45, with 1 out of 15 left over. Now, going back to estimating, why do we teach you to estimate? Just to make sure that our answer is in the right ballpark. So if I were wanting to round my beginning problem, 3 2/7, it would be rounded to 3. And if I wanted to round 14/15 to the nearest whole number, it would round to 1. And 3 times 1 equals 3. So I can double check 3 with my actual answer to see if I was somewhat close. And because I am probably guaranteed to be about right. Estimating is really, really nice in order to double check your work. Now I want you to find the product of two numbers that have mixed. Make sure you turn it to an improper fraction first. And if you want to go ahead and try this problem on your own, you can do that and then resume the video. Now I'm going to explain this answer kind of quickly because you should already know how to change these to improper fractions. I'm going to multiply 3 times 6 equals 18 plus 1 equals 19. So my improper fraction is 19 over 3. I'm going to change my 1 5/6 fraction to an improper fraction. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 5 is 11. And 6 remains my denominator. Now I'm going to double check to see if I can simplify. Now notice here, in order to simplify, I can't really simplify 3 and 11. And I also can't simplify 19 and 6. I'm getting a little nervous. Okay, what do you do when you can't cross cancel? Well, you get to do math the fun way. So I'm going to go ahead, multiply across the top 19 times 11, and I'm going to do that on my paper here, and hopefully I write this out okay. 1 times 9 is 9, 1 times 1 is 1, add a 0, 1 times 9 is 9, 1 times 1 is 1. Going to go ahead and add these together. My answer is going to equal 209. And then my bottom number is just 3 times 6, which is 18. Okay, I can't leave this as an improper fraction. So you should know what to do. It's a division problem. I'm going to try to guess how many times does 18 go into 209. So instead of spending a lot of time wasting time, I'm going to go ahead and make this a division problem. This problem, as it reads right now, is 209 divided by 18. And if I write that out to the side, I'm taking 209 divided by 18. 18 goes into 20 one time. 20 subtract 18 is 2. 18 goes into 29 one time. Do a little bit of subtraction. I have a remainder of 11 left over. So here is how you would figure out your answer from the work that I did on the top right hand. I know that this number right here will become my new whole number. 18 goes into 209 11 times. So 11 is going to be my whole number. I have 11 left over as my remainder. And my denominator is the number I'm dividing by, which is going to be 18. So my answer to this long problem is 11 and 11/18. This is why it is really, really nice when you can cross cancel that you take the opportunity to do that. So then you aren't doing all these lovely steps right here. Now, sometimes you might be multiplying 3 whole numbers. If you think you're up for the challenge, feel free to pause. I'm going to explain this problem kind of quickly. First, I need to change all of these numbers into improper fractions. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14 over 5. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. And my denominator is still 3. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. And my denominator is 4. Now, I'm going to look for opportunities where I can cross cancel. Remember, you can only cross cancel one numerator with one denominator. That's a rule that you have to follow every time. So I'm going to check to see if I can spot out a numerator and a denominator that will nice and easily cross cancel with each other. The easiest one that I see is this 4 as my numerator and this 4 as my denominator. I'm going to cross those out and just make them a 1. Now I'm going to see if I can spot out anything else, and I'm having a really hard time coming up with anything that can cross cancel with this 14 or with this 7. So once again, we're going to be doing a little bit of math. So in this case, I'm going to be multiplying across the top 14 times 7. I'm going to take that problem out to the side, multiply it. 7 times 4 is 28, carry my 2. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So my new numerator equals 98, and 5 times 3 is 15. Now, once again, I got to change this into a mixed number. So I'm going to say, well, this fraction right here is 98 divided by 15. So I'm going to take 98 and divide it by 15. And I'm going to guess to myself about how many times does 15 go into 98. I'm going to go ahead and guess a 6. And if I wanted to figure out the answer to 15 times 6, I can just do the work for that. 6 times 5 is 30, carry my 3. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3 is 9. Ah, what a good guess that I had. Subtract it, I have 8 left over. So here's how you actually write your answer. I'm going to write it down below so I have space. Your 6 right here is going to be your new whole number. Your 8, that's your remainder, is your new numerator. And the number that you are dividing by, which is 15, is your denominator. So my answer is going to be 6 and 8/15. Practice problems. Try this by yourself. First thing you need to do is change this into an improper fraction. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17 over 4. Changing my 2 and 1/10 into an improper, 10 times 2 is 20, plus 1 is 21. And 10 will stay as my denominator. Now I'm going to see if I can find any opportunities to cross cancel. And once again, struggling to find any. I don't see any. So we get to go ahead and multiply. I am going to take 17 times 21 and multiply this out. 1 times 7 is 7, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 7 is 14, carry my 1, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. I need to add, and my answer is 357 over 40. Now how would I get 40? I just multiplied 4 times 10. Now I have to do a little bit of division, which will be fun. So I'm taking 357, dividing it by 40. 40 does not go into 35, but it does go into 357. Now I know that 4 times 8 is 32. So I'm going to go ahead and put an 8 over here at the side. 4 times 8 is 32, and if you were to add your 0, you would get 420. And then I would have 37 as my leftover amount. So this problem, changed into a mixed number, would be 8 and 37/40. This was quite a hard problem. Hopefully next one won't be so hard. Okay, let's try this one. I tried to give you an opportunity to cross-cancel, so feel free to pause and solve. Okay, well, first thing I'm going to do is just rewrite my problem, but I'm going to change my 4 1/4 into an improper fraction. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17. And your denominator stays the same. Now this case, I tried to make it a little easier. You can cross-cancel the 6 and the 4. There is a number that goes into those 6 and 4, and that would be 2. I'm going to divide both the 6 and the 4 by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now I'm going to check to see if I can cross-cancel between this 8 and 17. And I don't see any numbers that can go into both. My next step would be to multiply across. 17 times 3. 3 times 7 is 21, carry my 2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, equals 51 over 16. Now this is an improper fraction. I need to just go ahead and guess and check how many times 16 goes into 51. I might go ahead and guess 3 times. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and take 51 divided by 16, and I'm going to use 3 as my guess. So 16 times 3. 3 times 6 is 18, carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 48. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract. And, 11 minus 3 is 3. So my answer for this problem, you would have 3 and 3/16 as a remainder. Feel free to circle a smiley face and write a question if you have one.